Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We're going to talk like this the whole intro
Yes, we are, mate.
in honor of all the people that died in all the movies.
In all the
Movies / shows.
What kind of accent is this? I'm not quite sure what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing.
I have no idea. I think I'm trying to mix some like Australian with some British.
That's like you trying to be like Kiwi, like Korg, with some Australian thrown in there and British, and it just doesn't exist. That's not a real accent.
Hey, I like this accent though. I'm gonna talk like this for now.
Oh, that was pretty good. How you said now, right there?
Now, we get on the ship. Wanna come?
Okay, yeah, don't do that. But anyway, so
Had a pretty exciting weekend. Got to watch Avengers Endgame and the new Game of Thrones episode. So it was pretty
in
exciting.
the same day.
It was in the same day. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was in the same day, and I gotta admit that after that Game of Thrones episode, on my way home, I was telling I was with my girlfriend in my car, and I was like, my heart actually hurts, like I held my breath for too long, like my heart wasn't getting oxygen.
Oh my god. It's more like your brain. That's why you're so dumb.
Wow. But no, like I was like sitting there, I was like, damn, like that took a lot out of me right there. I was literally holding my breath through that half that episode.
It's good.
But anyway, so this is episode 64, titled Game of Thrones Endgame. I wonder why. So yeah, this episode we obviously talk about
We cover some goofy news stories, and then we cover what we thought about the two things.
that was really specific.
I mean, I don't want to like lay it all out on the line.
There's a lot of spoilers in this, so make sure that if you have not seen Endgame or Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, you probably just want to listen to the news stories and then
Pause it for now. Once you watch the two of them, come back and listen to it. You can hear our theories, kind of get our point of view on both the movie and the TV show. I mean, I enjoy listening to everybody else's theories, their comments on both things. So once you watch it, be sure and come back and give it a listen, and then you can email us or tell us how big of a doofus we are on Twitter or Facebook or, whatever you want to do. But
and also, while you're at it, make sure that the next time you listen to it, if it was originally on your phone, go ahead and do this one on your computer so it counts as another download for us, just to help us out.
Wow, just begging right there. Might as well bark
hey.
dog.
It's actually what's the phrase? Dance monkey, dance for free.
Dance monkey, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I will dance for you. So just
He doesn't dance for anybody.
I don't.
He's boring.
I suck at dancing.
He does.
But Nathan,
I can dance for you.
Yeah.
Not anymore, dude. Since I've gotten out of shape, I can't dance anymore.
well, it's your own fault.
True.
Anyway, as always, I'm a son,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the Cold One with the Boys.
So when you hear the word hack, like somebody's hacked something, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Like getting information from someone or information on someone's system or a data center, something of that sort.
Okay, so when I think of hacked, I think somebody just broke into my computer and is stealing all of my personal information.
I mean, typically, yeah.
Or, kids hacking video games.
Which they're not. That's not actually.
It's
hacking.
not. That's just cheating, right?
It's okay. When you play like CS:GO and there's like a kid cheating on there,
Mm-hmm.
people call them a hacker, but they're just using someone else's script. Now, the person that designed that hack or that
Design the script.
designed the script for it, they would be hackers of like the actual code of the game to be able to add a third-party system to control something in game. So
Okay. Well, This has to do with a news story. MIT hackers, in quotation, hackers, I have to do the little fingers thing, turned Great Dome into Captain America's shield. And so I was sitting here, I'm looking at the photo, like obviously the top of the building looks like a boob. It's like a big dome top building. And I put Captain America's like little symbol over top of it so it makes it look like the shield. And I was like, how? Like at first I was looking at it and I was like, did they like electronically, does it have like an electronically pictured roof to where they can
Well, I mean, that's what I would assume too, is that maybe the dome is like just a screen and they hacked into what shows up on the screen.
So that's what I thought. But apparently hacks is what used to be like is a prank. So these people went on top of this building as a prank for the Avengers Endgame movie and put Captain America's shield up there. But I guess what they call a prank is, or what they call a hack is just a prank. So, like, I had never heard that before. I didn't know if you had ever heard that, but I don't know. It just kind of shocked me that they called a prank a hack. I don't even know how it's a prank. They're not like pranking something like, "Ha, I got you." Like they just stuck this on top of the building.
I mean, it is a prank. You know, like if I put a picture of someone's boobs on your front door, that'd be a prank, and it's kind of the same thing.
A prank. I thought a prank was like.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's other things that are called pranks, but that would technically be a prank. If I just like if you went to go take a piss or something, and I went on your computer and made your background like
swinging dick or something.
Yeah,
that would be a prank. Well, I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it a hack. That's weird.
Yeah, I guess that's what MIT students call pranks.
Well, they're smarter than me, so apparently,
right. Yeah. I guess they had some kid fall and die while trying to attempt to hack like this back in 2017. So apparently they're not that smart because they got on top of the building, slipped, and died. So,
well, way to 180 that. Didn't expect that coming at all. Didn't expect.
Well, you were like, well, they're smarter than me. Apparently not. So, I mean, you wouldn't get my fat ass up on top of a building to put something up there.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're stupid. I just think they're like, I mean, if someone falls off a building, they could have been Elon Musk. You know, they could have been one of the smartest people in the world, and just fallen off. But that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't know what I would say about that other than R.I.P. dude.
Rip in pepperonis. Where did that come from? Rip in pepperonis, real quick. You've heard that before, right?
I mean, yeah, but also I think the original was R.I.P. in pieces, and then people just started adding R.I.P. in pepperonis and R.I.P. in.
Must have just been meme culture.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Meme speak.
Speaking of a meme, have you ever seen a beluga whale with a camera on it before?
I've never seen a beluga whale. Maybe at the zoo. I'm not sure.
I don't think they have beluga whales at the zoo unless you're at like SeaWorld.
Maybe. I mean, from what I see from here, the picture, they're like the dopey ass looking whales. So,
yeah, dude, beluga whales are like the goofiest looking whale creature I've ever seen. They got that big old hump on the front of their head.
Yeah, the forehead.
Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking that was the sperm whale because it just looks like a semen. But those are beluga whales. Anyways, I guess a marine biologist, or maybe it was a fisherman. A fisherman had this beluga whale come up to him that had a GoPro camera attached, and just swam up to him with his GoPro camera attached to it, and it was filming. And apparently, Russia has, this was over in Norway, off the coast, and Russians have a naval base in that area, and these people apparently believe that Russians are training beluga whales to spy on them. That's some like Nazi stuff. Like that's some of that like high-tech scientist like weird things.
Could be, or it could just be like some Russian soldiers, like, screwing around. They're like, oh, let's put this GoPro on this beluga whale and see what we get back. And this is the one and only. But I mean, unless they can control these whales, what's the point? Most of it's probably just going to be like underwater BS that they just see, like,
I mean,
how often are they going to come to the shore and get some information off some guy on the shore?
yeah, I don't know. I guess the U.S. during the Cold War, they set up a program to train dolphins and sea lions in California with the Navy. I have no idea what they were used for, but I know they do train animals. I know like dolphins can be trained like at SeaWorld to do what they want them to do. So all they have to do is attach a camera to them, and they can probably train them to run a certain route so that they can see stuff.
I mean, if Russia and the US are doing shit like this now, like all that stuff from the movies about like those little dragonfly cameras, like little like cameras on flies and shit, all that's going to be real.
Dude, it is. I guarantee you it is.
Yeah. Cuz I mean, yeah, that, like if you could put a camera on a fly and it's like a electronic like robo fly, you know how much information you can get?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did interview a Russian broadcaster. He said, if we were using this animal for spying, do you really think we'd attach a mobile phone number with the message, please call this number? Which I get it. Like, they would probably have a little bit more high tech something other than just a GoPro camera on it. But they did say they have military dolphins for combat roles. They said we have a center for military dolphins trained to solve various tasks, from analyzing the seabed to protecting a stretch of water, killing foreign divers, and attaching mines to the hulls of foreign ships.
Jesus.
So I don't think it's too far.
Well, another
out
thing is
there.
like, would they use GoPros? Like, don't they have something more high tech if it was actual military?
That's what I'm saying. It's probably not Russian military collusion attaching, to this beluga whale. Because this guy said they use dolphins. I know there's a big difference between a dolphin and a beluga whale. So,
Well, you just said Russian and collusion, so now we're being watched by the CIA.
you're probably right. Hey, maybe we'll get some more downloads. But I think that's crazy that they train animals to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I know they use dogs for various combat stuff, but like a whale, like a dolphin, really? I don't know. They're super smart animals, though.
I want you to do your best and go ahead and pronounce that name of that person.
Govort Moskva. Moskva. Govorit Moskva.
Govorit Moskva.
I was close. And then this one's Victor Baronets.
That one's probably not a Russian guy.
Well, I think that is. Interviewed by Russian broadcaster, blah, blah, blah. Colonel Victor, whatever said.
So he's military.
Yeah, so he's a military
Victor
guy.
Baronets. That's a weird last name for
A Russian person?
IMO. I don't know. It might be a common last name, and I'm just
You're just
uncultured. Yeah.
Yeah, uncultured swine.
Yep.
Anyways, speaking of crazy high-tech stuff, instead of whales in the water, there was the first kidney transplant was delivered by drone for the first time ever a couple days ago. It says a kidney scheduled for transplant was delivered by a drone for the first time ever, in a move they say could make organ delivery safer and more affordable. The drone was custom built to monitor the organ in the air in real time as it was delivered and send updates to the personnel handling the transplant. I think that's pretty awesome. Like, I don't know. I mean, you don't really watch too many like doctor TV shows, but I know in every doctor TV show I've ever watched, there's always problems with like transporting like live organs. And I'm sure that's probably a problem, today, because they only live for so long, right?
Yeah, until that drone like flies by Billy Bob's backyard with a shotgun and he shoots it out of the sky.
True.
Or like there's some malfunction because there's bound to be malfunction. I mean, there's stuff like that on planes, and we don't expect
Right.
it, where the drone might fall out of the sky or it drops the transplant, and then it's GG at that point. I mean,
they have issues like that now. They have, accidents on the highway that
right.
keep them from getting there. And I know they transport some of them by helicopter. You have the same chance, the helicopter having a malfunction and crashing.
Yeah, so why risk a drone when you can risk a human life, you know?
True. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool for them to be able to come up with a way to work with the FAA to get these things up in the air and moving around to deliver transplants. Now, I don't know, what the distance is for a normal drone, but if this thing can take off at a plotted coordinate and land at a plotted coordinate, and deal with, air currents, because apparently air way up in the air way up in the air, the speed of like the wind further up in the air is a lot higher than it is on the ground, right?
Right.
So if it can land at the two plotted coordinates, be able to deal with all that without somebody flying it, that's probably got to be a more precise drone than what I've ever messed with.
Yeah, I mean, well, just with the stuff Elon Musk just did with SpaceX, like landing those rockets, like
I heard about
upright.
that.
Did you see the video?
I didn't see the video. A guy at work was telling me about it, that it's normally they can get like the booster rockets back that like fall back into the ocean with parachutes. But I guess he said like the main rocket or whatever came back down. It was the first time they got it to come back from out of orbit, and then it landed on the platform it was supposed to land on.
Yeah, and the rockets too. They like the rockets on the side. They didn't parachute down. They literally came down and stabilized themselves upright and landed as if they were about to take off again.
That is wild.
Yeah, that's
like, what is controlling them coming back down? Do they have?
I have no idea, but it's like some Star Wars shit. Like it just reminds me of those ships you see in all the movies. You're just like, what?
Right.
That's possible? Like that's, if we can figure out a fuel system to be able to sustain that, that's going to be the next aircraft that we see is like safe landing like that.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Just instead of having to take off, it just
goes up,
goes where it needs to, and then like goes back down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be down for that. I don't know. That'd be weird to get in a plane that would do that.
It's an elevator up into the clouds.
I mean, the military has, what is it called? The Osprey? The plane that has the rotary engines that takes off and lands like a helicopter, but then flies like an airplane. I think it's called an Osprey. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's way above my pay grade, dude. I'm just the janitor here.
Exactly. Now, with this whole drone thing, apparently, if this becomes a big deal, you're gonna have, I wouldn't say hundreds, but there's a possibility to have a whole bunch of drones in the air at any one time, all the way to where, we were talking about earlier, Amazon delivering packages to your front door with drones.
That'd be cool, but at the same time, I feel like the airspace would be filled because I've worked in the delivery industry, I guess. Work for the Postal Service,
right?
And just knowing how many packages people order, how many packages get delivered on a daily basis from, the big three, FedEx, UPS, and USPS.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. So if all that got transferred to drones and that was the sole way of delivering package to someone's house, you wouldn't even be able to see the sky.
Yeah,
it'd just be
drones.
Be drones everywhere with packages.
Yeah, I don't think that would be like a good idea. And honestly, I don't think they would have enough drones to manpower it. Like,
probably not.
That would be way too much, because I know some of the packages you've delivered have been hundreds of pounds. Like, they would have to have helicopter-sized drones delivering.
Right. I still think there would be a need for manpower there. I don't think it would eliminate that. But for anything small, which is mostly what gets ordered, is something that's, easily carryable in one hand. Stuff like that would probably go to drones. Like something like, I know the listeners can't see it, but the video of the kidney transplant box, like something like the size of that would be what drones would carry. Like if someone ordered a mug or something.
Right. I think they just need to leave it for like emergency use and then just let people deliver everything else. I hope we never end up with drones flying all over the skies. I feel like I'd be in what is that movie? iRobot.
iRobot.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, with Will Smith, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the AI turns on them.
It's Skynet all over again.
I just wanna crack that door with that voice, yeah.
No more baby mamas, no more kids to watch, cause I got babysitters. Now it's time for licking, come on, give it to me, cause it's my escape. Now it's time to annihilate, let my troubles all die away. I'm on a diet, Please do not try this, cause you're not invited. I'm dripping in go call the Midas. This night I was excited, it got me reignited. I've been waiting so long I can't fight it, but now I'm Mike Tyson inside, I'm on fire.
Hey, Nathan.
What?
I love you 3000.
Oh my god. That was probably, I don't know, like, that almost is like one of those cringeworthy moments from the movie.
It was cute.
I guess it was. I mean,
it was with the little, Morgan was her name.
I don't remember.
Which apparently in the comics, Morgan is his niece or his cousin or something that turns evil. I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I have no idea. It's his daughter in this universe, though, so I have no idea how that works or plays out. But anyway, this segment's about Endgame, obviously.
Obvious. Well, unless you've seen it, they probably wouldn't know what you just said. So,
that's true.
Hashtag spoilers. This whole rest of this segment of this episode is about Endgame, and it's going to have spoilers in it. So, if you haven't seen the movie, you plan to watch it, and you don't want to hear the ranting that we're about to give you, go ahead and turn it off and never come back. I'm just kidding. Wait till next week's episode. I'll have something other than Avengers. So,
can't we shut up already?
Why you gotta be like that?
I don't know.
Hang on, I gotta move this microphone. There we go. That's better. It sounds like my bones when I wake up in the morning.
Well, you're getting old. Anyway, so overall, just before we get started, overall, the whole movie, out of 10, what rating would you give Endgame?
I'm not very good at giving things ratings because I'm trying to find something to compare it to.
Well, let's do this. 6 out of 10 would be where it's passable, where you would, you'd watch it again and it'd be okay.
So 6 out of 10 is where I would watch it again?
Right. Basically, it's passable.
I'm gonna have to set 7 at 7.5 is where I would watch it more than once. Well, maybe not. I don't know. 7 is where I would watch it more than once for myself. 6 is where I would only watch it again if the person that I'm hanging out with wants to see it and they haven't seen it, and I'm watching it with them so they could see it, and that's what I would give it, a 6 out of 10. Because I would never pick this movie up again at the store or find it on Hulu or Netflix and watch it.
I agree. I would give it a solid 6 out of 10. It was passable, and of course we're going to get into why. But it was passable. Obviously, I mean it did very well financially. It broke all records. It's the number 1 movie now of all time as far as opening weekend.
I think it's just the hype. We're both video game players, so we know how hype works. The hype gets built up. It's the last installment in a 22 movie series in the MCU, right?
Right.
It's the last movie. All the questions are going to get answered. Everybody's excited, and then
it's the end of a phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I understand it's a big climactic point. But I mean, as far as best movies in the MCU, wouldn't be in my top 5. Um, I definitely would put Infinity War way above this one.
I think I agree with that too. I think between you know, the big Avengers movies, I think Infinity War way beat out this one. I don't know. My problem with this movie was how dragged out it felt. Like it just felt like things took so long. There's like so many empty scenes that didn't need to be there. At one point, it transfers to a black screen and it says 5 years later. And it literally took 5 years later for it to come up with the words 5 years later on the movie screen. Like that was one of the worst cinematic transitions I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the word. I don't know. Like, it definitely took a little longer. It shouldn't have been a 3-hour movie. That opening scene took a while, and I really thought the introduction of where it showed like Avengers on the screen as the title screen took a little too long to get to, and it was kind of an awkward placement. I don't know exactly when it showed up, but I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's where they're going to put the title screen. Okay. Right. Overall, like I said, it was, for me, as a 6 out of 10. It's passable. I enjoyed it. I would say it was, worth my money to go see once. And then, I don't want to.
For sure. Yeah.
Especially with friends, it is a culmination of all these MCU movies, and all these characters coming together in one movie, which is great. But there was, I mean, you could name this the Avengers plot hole. Like,
yeah,
there was just plot hole after plot hole. There was so many. I'm not a big like comic book nerd on the Marvel universe, but there seems to be changes happening that are happening just because I don't know for what reason.
Well, I mean, you have to understand this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a completely separate entity from the comic books. And I feel like that's one thing that people don't take into account when they're referencing these movies is this is a whole separate entity. Like, I mean, it kind of derives from the comics, like they're getting the story from the comic books, but they're not bound to portray the comics.
And there's a lot of new comics that are coming out, like new age versions of these characters, and they're actually taking a lot of things from the new comics as well and kind of mixing them into the old. And I mean, obviously by the end of this movie, you see that it kind of lets go of the old Avengers, like the original Avengers. 2 of them died, one of them went back in time to his original timeline. And like a 4th one is now with the Guardians. So it just broke up the original Avengers, and it gives room for a new group to come in and kind of take over. But overall, just to kind of break down the movie, the things I really liked about it.
So real quick before we break down the entire movie, what is your favorite part from the movie?
Well, I was a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok, and just seeing Korg and Meek with Fat Thor playing Fortnite. As much as I hate Fortnite, I thought that was the funniest shit I've ever seen in a long time.
I think out of the entire movie, the scene where it cut to Thor and he was fat and he had the gut with the man titties hanging out and he was drinking beer, like. That was the highlight of the entire movie for me right there.
I just liked anything with Thor in it, any of his lines, anything he was doing was just hilarious to me. Just like him letting himself go like that with, this little new Asgard town and everything. And it was just amazing. I thought that was hilarious.
Chris Hemsworth definitely carried that movie on his back 100%. I feel like if Chris Hemsworth, like Fat Thor, for those who've seen it, they obviously know what we're talking about. For those who haven't seen it and have no care to see it, they make Thor fat in this movie. Like he's out of shape. He's just kind of given up on life. But if he wasn't in the movie like that, I feel like this would have gone from a 6 out of 10 movie for me to like a 4 out of 10.
He definitely made a lot of the movie for me. Um, the first half, there so much could have been cut out. There were so many slow scenes. Another character that I think made the movie a little bit was Scott Lang or Ant-Man.
Yeah, he did pretty good. I haven't seen the Ant-Man movies, but I thought he did well in the movie. He was funny, charismatic. He fit the theme of the movie well. So I thought, I mean, he did good.
Yeah, he did well, and I think also it was, I guess, refreshing. Even though this has never happened in the comics, so this is something that's very different. But it was refreshing to kind of see this morphed version of the Hulk, of like half Hulk, half Bruce Banner.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
So where he's like a sentient Hulk, and
Right.
he's smart and everything. I thought that was really interesting to see. So I think those three characters right there carried the movie. Well, I can't say like Tony Stark didn't. He's always good. He always does a good job. He just didn't have a lot of the spotlight until the very end.
I think, it makes sense with this movie because, of course, half the world's population died, super tragic thing to happen. Tony Stark, they made him more human. Like, he's always been that, funny, snarky, rich guy in all of his movies, which I've loved because he does it with like an air of comedic value. Like, you enjoy the snarkiness because it's funny, and like he does it with that playboy philanthropist attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, he's just
a family man.
Yeah, he goes from that to, I don't want to do anything because I have to think about my kid and my family first, which is fine. Like, I get it, but they kind of stripped all of that comedic and caring value from him and handed it off to those other three people, which is fine.
Yeah. I thought Captain America was generally really good. Well, before I get to Captain America, like, I just want to mention a few plot holes towards the beginning with Tony Stark. Like, so the Avengers go to him. This is after the 5 years later part. They go to him because they want to build a time machine of sorts, or time device of sorts, to go back in time,
right,
to reverse things. And it's like overnight Tony Stark figures it out. I'm like, what? Like, you could have spent a lot more of the time that you wasted with random ass conversations.
Well,
about
I mean,
peanut butter and jelly.
We don't really know that was something that happened overnight.
It really seemed that way. Like, how they shot the scenes, it seemed like it would, like, the next scene was him sitting there on his computer, and he figured it out, and he was like, oh shit, I figured it out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
So, I mean, it could have been,
weeks. That's
weeks,
kind of
but
how I looked at it. But
yeah, but it, like, he all of a sudden figured it out. He goes in, and the rest of the movie carries on. But I did think when they went back in time, it was really interesting. That's kind of when the movie started picking up for me, is when they go into the set of Avengers 1, like the first Avengers movie, and they're trying to hide from their former selves,
right,
so they don't change anything in the timeline. And just some of the replays of the scenes, but they're playing out differently, is really cool to see. Like that part with Captain America in the elevator, where he goes in there with the it's the blue stone, right? Infinity Stone in the briefcase.
No, I don't think so. Because Stark is trying to find the Infinity. He takes the staff, Loki's staff. I don't know what's in it.
I think they had like the Mind Stone. I don't know. Regardless, yeah, he takes that and he goes in the elevator, and everyone's freaking out because everyone in this elevator is Hydra. And he just looks over at the guy, and he's just like, "Don't worry." And the guy just like looks at him like they're about to like basically detain him.
Get into a fight.
Yeah, they're about to get into a fight, and he just whispers, "Hail Hydra," and then he takes the case, and they trust him. It was funny as hell to me. I was like, hell yeah.
I think there's scenes from one of the Captain America movies where he has to he's going down the elevator, all the guys start piling in, and then they get into like a big fight at the bottom of it. And I think that's
Right.
what happened or something, but I don't remember too much.
Yeah. And of course the whole scene with like this is another plot hole, and I don't think it's necessarily a plot hole, but because Loki escaped with the blue stone with the
like what?
it's like he's opened up another timeline that didn't even take into account to by the end of the movie. So Loki's going to be alive somewhere.
Probably.
And he's going to be back. And so because they failed at getting the blue stone, they have to go back even further into like what 1970 or something on a like base where
well, it was in the 40s where Captain America was stationed or whatever, transformed.
well, yeah, but like it was in 1970 because that's when Stark met his dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember it saying 1970, but it was at that base, but that's where they were holding the blue stone at the time. And like that was a pretty cool moment where Tony Stark got to speak with Howard Stark and just kind of have like a dad son moment without the dad knowing.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. But you know, as you get more and more into the movie, I'm skipping around a lot here, but as you get more and more into the movie towards the end of the big battle scene, that's probably what disappointed me the most.
Yeah, I watched some people's reviews of it afterwards because I wanted to know what people thought about the movie. And everybody was like, oh, this last battle scene in Endgame blows out any battle scene from like Infinity War or any of the other movies. I'm like, not at all.
Yeah, no.
Like the coolest thing about the battle scene that we see in Endgame is after Hulk snaps his fingers, like they open up all the portals for all the people that were dead to like come through, and that was like the coolest like
entrance.
And it kind of gave you the goosebump feeling, like, oh yeah, we're about to kick ass, and then it kind of just was like.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool scene. I personally, like, as far as fight scenes go, I thought the Wakanda Infinity War scene was so much better.
100%.
Especially like when Thor comes in and starts murking everybody.
Yeah.
Dude, like, you can't beat that.
Right.
Another thing is like Black Widow, you know, she's never had her own solo movie or anything, and they just kind of offer.
Yeah, they just kill her off.
And I'm like, well, what the hell? Like, why?
Now,
I mean, I get it, but why?
I can never tell. Does Black Widow have a thing for the Hulk? Does she have a thing for Hawkeye? Or does she have a thing for Captain America? Because it looks like all three of them to me.
I mean, kind of, yeah. Well, this is the thing. The Hulk and Black Widow never had a thing in the comics. So that's something completely from the MCU. Because in the comics, it's supposed to be, I think Betsy Ross is her name. Betty Ross, something like that.
Betsy Ross is the girl that sewed the American flag, I think.
Well, then it's Betty Ross. It's something very similar to that. But it, like in the Hulk movie, it was played by Liv Tyler. She plays it, and then she like never showed up again in any of the movies. But that scene, you know, where they're on Vormir and they're getting the Soul Stone, it made zero sense to me that they would keep Hawkeye and get rid of Black Widow. Like,
she's had more of an impact in the movies than he has.
She's had way more impact, and on top of that, I don't think there's a single person that cares about Hawkeye or his storyline.
I know. I mean, honestly, I don't.
I mean, yeah, it was cool.
Like
he was
Arrow.
Ronin. He was Ronin now, and he was, yeah, like, I just think he's
Ronin now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, in the comics, he turns from Hawkeye into Ronin. That's why he had like the sword, and he was like he became like an assassin. So technically, he was Ronin in this movie, but
gotcha.
He should have died for the Soul Stone.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But
I'd rather look at Scarlett Johansson than what's his face, anyways.
Yeah. And then, you know, another thing that this kind of back towards the end of the very end of the movie, there was this scene that a lot of people, no matter politically where you lean, a lot of people had an issue with this scene, and
Super cringe, dude.
it was like I was like, "What?"
Like, I literally felt uncomfortable in the movie theater when this happened because I was like, oh, like, you just feel all clammy and cringy, or just like, did they really just do that in a multi-million-dollar movie? Like, for real?
Basically, Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel, she has a scene where she starts charging forward, and all of a sudden, all the women characters, women like superheroes, come out of the woodwork together.
I think
And-
it's the line that she used for it. They're trying to transfer the Infinity Gauntlet like across the field, and they're like, "How are we going to get through that?" And she's like, "We've got all the backup we need, like super sassy." And then it's just female characters. I was like,
like it wasn't even that it was all female characters. It was that just previously in other scenes, those female characters were alongside male counterparts or in different parts of the battle, and all of a sudden they were all in the same place.
and it just went, whoosh, and they were all there together.
It
I
was
was
just
like,
it was very, very, very forced, and that's what I hated about it.
if it made sense, like it would be okay. It just like I'm not sexist. Like I like hot women kicking ass just as much as most any other men. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about other men, but good looking females in super tight costumes beating ass, like I'm all for it. But it just was like, it just felt off. Like you said, it felt very forced. Like they were trying to force like an agenda or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that scene was just kind of like, man, come on, and it just kind of kept going towards the end of the movie for me, of just like little cringy moments and little plot holes that just became more and more apparent as it went on. One of the huge ones for me being at the end of the movie, obviously all the people that came back that died in Infinity War, this is 5 years later from then.
Right.
So they come back into the regular timeline, but it shows Peter Parker going back to high school
with his friends.
That
should be out of college by now.
Right. That was like a major plot hole. Like, what happened?
I don't think it's a plot hole as much as it is like an oversight on their part.
I mean, it is a plot hole because, like, basically the only way it works is you have to assume that all the classmates, everyone in the school, were part of the half that died.
True.
Like, that's the only way it works.
I mean, the only person we recognize from school is...
I know, but with the knowledge of Spider-Man Far From Home, Flash Gordon's there. Basically all of his friends from high school are there, including his... I don't remember the guy's name. His little best friend, his Hawaiian guy.
I haven't seen any of the Spider-Man movies because I don't care, so I don't know any of those characters at all.
So yeah, I don't know. It was kind of disappointing.
Real quick, the Spider-Man character that plays in Avengers, is he the one that's doing the last couple movies?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll probably go watch him because I really enjoy his character. Like the actor, I enjoy watching.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming was really good. Okay. I really enjoyed it. Other than like this Spider-Man, this current Spider-Man, and Tobey Maguire are my two favorite for sure. But I think he plays it really well. The only problem I have with this Spider-Man is he's just a little too handsome. Like Peter Parker is supposed to be like nerd boy, like nerdy, like acne.
Yeah.
Like, the nerd in the school, and he's like this model, male model of a man. True. So that's the only problem I have with it, but that's just being nitpicky. But
I mean, you're a nitpick.
Yeah. But no, the very last thing that happens is, at this point, Captain America has gone back in his timeline and lived his life to where he's an old man at the very end of the movie.
Which didn't make sense to me either, because I think the universe at this point, the MCU is in like 2020, from what I could tell from that movie, because they were going back 5 years, and it was like 2014, 2015 at some points, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing they're around 2020. If he was put into ice in the 40s, because he started in World War II, right?
Right.
So say he's a middle-aged man, not middle-aged, Jesus. Say he's 18, just entered into the service, gets frozen in 40.
He would be like 98. Yeah.
He was like, he would be toast.
Yeah, he'd be a really, really old man. And he looked like he was
No,
in
dude,
his
he would be
80s.
over 100. Let's just say he was 20 when he went into the military in the 40s. So 60 years would put him at 2000.
He'd be about like 98, 100
Right.
at best. And he looked like 82.
He was in his late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
That part didn't bother as much. It was whatever. But the part that bothered me, and this is just once again me being nitpicky about what happens, but it's very obvious that how they've been setting it up this whole time with Winter Soldier and Bucky, and how it happened in the comics is Bucky is supposed to become the next Captain America, and instead it was given to Sam Wilson, which is the Falcon.
Now, see, I don't know enough about, like, I never watched the Captain America movies either, so I didn't know Falcon was even a thing. So I didn't know who Bucky was.
Was a very minor character. Bucky was a major character in Captain America's storyline.
But this is the MCU, like we said earlier. It's separate from the comics, so they can literally do whatever they want.
Right, exactly. And I still have hope for this whole storyline that they made with that, because I believe it's October of this year. They're coming out with a Netflix show. It's not going to be on Netflix. It's going to be on their Disney Plus thing. They're, you know how Disney's taking everything off of Netflix,
right? And they're making their own channel.
Yeah,
everybody's getting in on the free money.
Yep. So it's going to be on Disney Plus, but it's a show which right now is just titled The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I don't think that's going to be the actual name of it.
It's just a placeholder.
Yeah. But it's supposed to come out this year, and it's basically I think a 6-episode series, like mini series of the Falcon and Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hoping is through that process, the Falcon somehow hands it back over to Bucky, and then in the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the movies, Bucky's actually Captain America. That's what I'm hoping for, because like they've been setting him up this whole time to do that, and Falcon kind of came out of nowhere as far as the MCU. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I guess we'll see in the next phase.
So at the end of the day, if you haven't seen it, hopefully you're not listening to this, because we probably just, I mean, we're not gonna give you the end plot of what actually happens, so you can still kind of have a little mystery to the movie if you haven't seen it and you're planning on seeing it. But if you haven't seen it, it's worth going to see in the movie theater. I think anything that's a 6 or 7 out of 10 is worth it to me to pay the $12.50 to go watch it in the movie theater instead of watching it at home on your couch. So I would recommend going to see it, especially if you've liked all the other movies. It wraps everything up. It leaves some plot holes, but it ends the story. It's a decent movie. There are some cringy moments, but overall, I mean, it's worth paying the money to go see once and then moving on with your life. So,
yeah.
But, yeah. Infinity War.
Better.
Beats ass. So, Sunday was Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones. It was the big battle, all this and that, and we're going to give a breakdown of the episode and our thoughts on it here in a minute. But before we get into that, I was kind of thinking while I was doing some research, kind of reading through some theory crafting stuff yesterday and today, what is one plot hole that is unanswered that you hope is answered within the next 3 remaining episodes?
I hope there is a explanation. Well, there are several things from this episode that we'll definitely get into, but one thing I want to know how Arya teleported right behind the Night King. That's a little plot hole for me. I want to know how she got past the White Walkers. But the biggest thing is I want to know more about the Night King. I want to see some history. I want to see some flashbacks from Bran. I just want
About
a little
like who he is, like his background.
about who he is, what his plan was, why he's doing what he's doing. Like we know, he's pretty much death, but like
Right.
there has to be some sort of purpose or some kind of background, something to tie things together. Because it ended pretty quickly. I mean, it was an hour and a half episode, and it ended in that hour and a half. Everything ended as far as the Night King goes, from what we know.
From what we know.
But I just want that explained a little more. Is what the Night King really was.
Now, are those questions that can be answered in the books, or do you not know?
Well, the books at this point aren't out where the storyline is in the show, so
Fair enough.
there's no way to know. I don't actually think the Night King even exists in the books. At least not how he does in the show.
Oh, okay.
So that, I mean, that part could be completely different in the books, but I don't know. I have no idea who he is. I have an idea just from theories I've seen of him being like the 13th Lord Commander, and he was a former Stark. And a really cool theory I actually, and this is getting into the episode, but a really cool theory I ran across is that the reason the Night King started going south to attack is because he's a Stark, and the Starks have always like promised that Winterfell will always be run by a Stark.
There must always be a Stark in Winterfell.
Yeah, there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. And when the Boltons took over is around the exact same time they started marching south.
Ooh, I like that.
So they're thinking that was the reason. They're like punishing, I guess, the Starks. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it also kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I think for me, the one question I want answered that I don't know if it's answered in the book.
I hope it's not what you have written down right there.
It is.
Well,
because
happened.
this is a major plot hole. So Syrio Forel, he's probably my favorite. I would call him a C-class actor.
Character.
Yeah. C-class character. Like you only see him very slightly in the show, and he's only mentioned very slightly in the book. But in the book and in the TV show, they don't tell you if he died or not. And as soon as it was portrayed that he died, but it never told you. And then Jaqen H'ghar popped up out of nowhere, and he kind of has the same role as what Syrio, like he's watching over her. They're both from Bravos, and like they both have kind of the same. They speak the same. They kind of have the same attitudes. They watch over her. And I feel like if anybody is Jaqen H'ghar, that it's Syrio Forel.
I mean, I could get behind that. I don't necessarily think like this needs answering. Like if it needs answering or not, I don't think it's something that'll be addressed in the show.
I like it. It could have such a more major role in the last 3 episodes than what we know right now.
I mean, I would love for like Jaqen H'ghar to show up and reveal himself, that he was Syrio Forel and he's been watching Arya since she was a child and whatnot, and kind of training her. It would just mean a lot more of the story. It'd be like a little heartwarming kind of.
It'd be like a cool thing to see.
Yeah, it'd be a cool thing to see, but so would have Lady Stoneheart. Would have been really cool to see on the show, but that didn't happen either.
True.
So it's possible. I think it's very possible that Syrio Forel could have been, but that's the whole reason Arya put Maren Trent on her list is because she thought he killed Serial Pharrell.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't know because she left before he killed her, or killed him, or supposedly
Right.
killed him. So she just had him on the list because she thought that he had killed him.
But if it was Jack in her car,
Well,
would he get away then? Because like,
so
if Sierra Pharrell was Jackin, wouldn't he just kill Maren Trent?
not necessarily. I mean, maybe Maren Trent captured him and he allowed himself to get captured so that he could become somebody else and
Get out.
continue watching over her.
Gotcha.
But if you remember, whenever she killed Maren Trent, this is getting way off topic for this episode. Like, this is going deep into some other crap. But when she killed Maren Trent, Jack and Hagar got mad at her because he killed her and there was no reason. He's like, there has to be a reason for what you did. Like, you have to replace like a dead body with a dead body or whatever the saying was. Like, there has to be a purpose. And she's like, well, he killed my dancing instructor or whatever, and that was the reason why. And he's like, that's unfounded. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't remember that part, but I do plan to rewatch the whole show once it's done. But if that was said, then it seems like it's very probable that
I think that'd be really cool
if he was Sierra Pharrell. Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into episode 3. Like, probably one of the most waited on episodes of the entire show, I would say.
Not only one of the most waited on, but I think in general it's just one of the best episodes of television ever.
I mean, I would
TV
agree.
History. Yeah. One of the problems that a lot of people have had with it is that it was a little dark, but as far as
setting
the lighting,
the tone,
but yeah,
ominous.
that's how I look at it too. Is like, it's supposed to be dark. You're not supposed to see it coming. And then when that wall of zombies comes and they're just rushing, they're like climbing over each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like pure horror. It almost, I mean, this whole episode was kind of like in a horror genre.
That's what it felt like. It felt like a thriller, like a horror thriller.
Yeah. Yeah. Some like Army of Darkness type shit.
It literally looked like World War Z went back to sword and board days. But it was cool though.
Yeah. And so just kind of to begin the episode, like out of nowhere, they're all waiting outside, waiting for this horde to come in, and then out of the darkness comes Melisandre.
But she walks up from the way that the horde was coming from, right?
Right.
Or does she come in another gate?
No, that was from the same place they came from, which is why I'm still kind of unsure about that. I don't know what happened there.
Where did she just appear? Or like, was she just riding past the White Walkers like, hey friends, I'm going to go, light these guys' swords on fire. I'll be back in a jiffy.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was a really, really cool scene.
Probably one of my favorite scenes of the entire episode.
It was the entire scene too. They got lit up. They screamed Leroy Jenkins and started charging in for some reason, like shitheads.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. Like, they just took off. Nobody gave the order to attack. She just lit all the Dothraki swords on fire. They're on their horses and they just bolt off into the night. Don't know where they're at. They're just going to get them. They're going to find them.
And I mean, I understand why it happened. It's like, if I was a military commander, I would have been like, oh my God, what are they doing?
Right.
I would have been like that guy from the Leroy Jenkins video. I was like, dude, stick to the plan.
We got to save them.
So yeah, they rushed in with Jorah, and within seconds, like, you just see all of those swords start being extinguished. I
was like, oof.
And
big oof.
By the way, that scene from like the very top where you see like the horde of flaming swords, it was just like so beautifully shot.
Yeah.
And just the CGI, it was just amazing.
The cinematics from this entire episode were amazing. Like, I know I'm jumping ahead of you right now, but when the two dragons go up into the air and they're just like hanging there and there's like the clouds and the moonlight, dude. I was like, that is a desktop image for a computer. Like,
Yeah, it was
it was
real good.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. And then, I mean, after they, did their whole Leroy Jenkins thing, like that completely just crumbled their entire plan. Right then,
Dude, it broke all of their spirits.
well, no, it didn't break their spirits necessarily, but right when that happened, it just started a chain of events where Daenerys saw the Dothraki die. She was like, fuck the plan. I'm getting on my dragon right now.
Roasty toasty, dude.
Yeah, and she started going down. So that wasn't part of the plan. They were only supposed to be around to protect Bran.
Mm-hmm.
And so that screwed the plan. And then just everything started going south. And when that horde of dead people just like hit the Unsullied, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, dude. And the thing about fighting like a dead army is it's one thing to fight somebody that's going to even like the most trained soldier is going to like flinch in anticipation of either death or pain. Like they're going to hesitate, like, I'm about to run into this, I'm gonna do it because I'm trained, this is what this is what I do, but they're going to have that second thought always. This undead horde, they just don't care. Like, you can't win against that.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of the scene from Return of the King,
Mm-hmm.
At Minas Tirith, where like all that ghost horde
Mm-hmm.
came out of nowhere, except these weren't ghosts. They just literally trampled
That's
over
all
the
they
front
did.
lines, like completely. I don't know how they were going that fast, but that was terrifying.
World War Z, dude. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, World War Z, seriously. So pretty much, I mean, the rest of the episode, like 40 minutes, is just them losing battle after battle, losing like flank after flank, and basically starting to be completely boxed into Winterfell. By the way, that scene where Melisandre's like trying to get the trenches lit,
Dude, I was like,
I was like,
dude, she's about to get skewered right here.
it's gonna get like, I thought what was gonna happen is she would have failed her spell, and I thought at that moment Grey Worm was gonna like ignite himself somehow and light it
Yeah,
himself.
dude, I thought he was about to like torch himself and like do like Helm's Deep, like that orc, like
Yeah, exactly.
that's
exactly what I
dude,
thought
and
was
like
going
gonna
on.
jump in. I was like, ah!
And I was already prepared at that moment. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
he's
a good
gonna
way.
kill himself.
That's a good way for him to go out. That's heroic, And then he didn't, and it worked. I was like, oh shit. And that's one thing. I mean, in this whole episode, I was really surprised about is how little of the main characters died.
Dude, I was going into this episode expecting like Jon, Daenerys, Arya, and like the Hound to make it out, and that's it. Like everybody else was gonna die.
Yeah, I was expecting definitely a lot more to die.
I was super. They're gonna kill him off in the next couple episodes, so don't hold your breath.
I'm sure, especially like everyone right now is. There's a lot of people that are complaining about that. I'm not, because
they're gonna kill them. People, like, calm down. Give them time.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you've been watching Game of Thrones for 8 seasons, there's no way they're like out of the smoke. Like
no, they like to tear people's hearts out at the last minute.
Yep. Exactly. They want to build you up. Oh, they survived that big battle, and then they go into a smaller battle and they get like stabbed.
Yeah, like if they made it through the army of undead, they can make it through the rest of it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's still a lot more deaths coming for sure. But yeah, and then it kind of went into Winterfell. They started battling in there. That's when, by the way, we didn't even mention. He's kind of a minor character, but Dolorous Ed saving Sam and then getting stabbed. Through the
that
face.
was the Night Watch brother.
Yeah,
right?
he was basically the last Lord Commander that was left. Was that guy? After Jon Snow was killed,
right?
So, yeah, he got
axed or stabbed or something
through the face to save Sam, which that was, I guess, a good way for him to go out. It was sad, but anyway, back into Winterfell. That's when that giant just charged in.
Yeah, and like little Lady Mormont run. I was like, seriously, turn around and run. Like, hello, you're a child. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then she got clubbed and picked up, and
dude, I thought, like, I was like, dude, this is about to happen. They're about to bite this child's head off. He was like picking her up like a snack, like a ice cream cone. I was like, Anna, he about to bite her head off. And like he
Yeah.
was opening his mouth. I was like, oh, here it comes. He's about to eat this little girl. And then she like stuck him in the eye. I was like, man.
Like, I'll come back to this in a second, but if you watch the like behind the scenes after the episode was
I
over,
didn't watch that because I don't want to see the next preview.
well, it wasn't the next preview. It was just like explaining this episode and what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were saying, like Leanna Mormont, the little girl, was supposed to be a 1 episode character, but she played it so well that they kept her in, and they even gave her a pretty damn heroic ending.
Well,
her
she is one of like for some like fan favorite of the
Yeah,
show.
I mean she's a little badass. Like she's cool.
I
I like her.
guess.
She's a little like sassy little Mormont, little bear, dude.
It's like a female version of you as a kid.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
But no, so she kills the giant, you know, she gets crushed right before, so it's not like she lived or anything.
Right,
But
she did.
no, that moment, and this was mentioned on another video, but I was actually surprised someone else mentioned this. If any listener has ever seen the anime Attack on Titan,
No, never seen it.
immediately, like any person that's ever watched Attack on Titan, your mind had to immediately go to that show, because all that show is about, like the first few opening scenes, is giants or titans as they
Mhm.
call them in there, picking up people, little people like that, and biting them in half. So I was
Oh,
like,
so that's actually what happens.
yeah, I immediately thought that giant was gonna pick her up and bite her in half. Like,
That's funny.
and you know, he was opening his mouth. I was like, oh, here it is.
We had the same thoughts. It's just coming from a TV
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, so I was like, oh shit. But yeah, so she ends up killing the giant there, but
There was a third. Who else died?
Beric Dondarrion, which we'll get to,
Mm-hmm.
Jorah at the end, and then Melisandre. Those were the
Yep,
5
yep.
that died.
Okay.
So, so after that, I mean, everyone's fighting inside the castle, and then you have that Splinter Cell library scene for Arya, which was,
It was super like you're like on the edge of your seat.
yeah, like I didn't, like nothing really happened, but man, I felt like I was playing Resident Evil. Like any sound you made could attract them. It was really well shot. And
Dude, when she comes around the corner of that bookcase
Oh.
and like the thing is like in that chick's mouth and she's just dead, I thought that like the white had like grabbed her by the throat. But she had like stuck the blade up in its face. Honestly, I liked that scene more than I liked the ending scene.
yeah, I
She's
mean,
like, shink! I was like, oh.
yeah, all of a sudden. At first glance, in the very first like millisecond of that happening, I thought she had stabbed someone that was alive.
That's what I thought too. Like I thought it was like a person, like one of her friends or something. She just,
I was like, oh shit.
I mean, can't be sneaking up on people like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's
true.
too hectic going on.
Oh man, what if that's how like the Hound went?
Dude, I would have raged. I'd have like thrown something at my new TV.
Yeah. But that was a really cool scene, and then it kind of ended with her being overwhelmed and running, and that's when she runs into the Hound and Beric, which I thought that was a really cool ending for Beric, by the way, where he was,
Dude, where he was just like straight up posted like in the door frame, like trying to hold them back, and they're just like continuously stabbing him over and
Yeah.
over again. And he's just like holding the door. I was like, ooh.
and like what was really cool to me is kind of putting it all together for Beric's character, of him being resurrected 7 times, and how his
It was
whole
like
purpose.
19 times or something.
No, 7 times. The Hound just exaggerated it because he's a dickhole. But no, it kind of puts the prophecy of Azor Ahai kind of together for me, because Thoros of Myr, which was the Red Priest that brought Beric back,
Mm-hmm.
brought him for the whole purpose of making sure the prince that was promised it like gets through, or survives. So his whole purpose, like he basically died protecting Arya to make sure she survives. So it really makes me think that Arya is the prince or princess that was promised, which kind of gets confirmed by the end of the episode.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. At one point in the show, she tried to act like a boy for a long time.
That that's true. I never thought about that. Yeah, that's at the time, that's that. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
But so he died, and he was one of my favorite characters. I really liked Barrick. He was dope.
He was a cool character for sure.
Yeah, I liked his like cool eye patch that you don't see anywhere in any other show, and his flaming sword. And his voice was like godly.
Just like,
And then that brings it to that other scene with Melisandre in the other room that's locked now, and it's Arya, Melisandre, and the Hound, and that's when that prophecy comes back from like season 3 where Melisandre's talking to her about she's going to shut brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes.
as soon as she said that, dude, I was like, all right,
Yeah,
she's gonna be the one to like finish this up.
right. At that point, I was like, she's going to do something. And then she kind of disappears for like the last 20 minutes until the very last scene.
Arya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so, and in that behind the scenes little snippet after the episode, they actually said they purposely left her out for the last 20 minutes because they were hoping you'd forget about her. And then she'd come out of nowhere in the last scene.
I mean, I forgot about her.
So did I. So it worked.
It
But
did. They're like super smart people.
yeah.
Fuck them.
So yeah, she just runs off because she realizes what her duty is, like what her part in all this is. So she runs off, and then I mean, kind of skipping around, but there's dragon battle going on. Everyone's losing, everyone's dying, everyone's like getting stabbed. Like it looks like a huge loss. And then it gets to the scene where they're pretty much at this point they've surrounded the werewood tree, and like
That tree, dude.
Theon's there, Bran's still like flying with some crows or something.
Dude, I don't know what he was doing, but he was out of it for like 15 minutes. If I was Theon, I would have turned around and slapped him with like my stick or something. Like, wake up, do something here. Like, I'm about to die defending you, and you're not even here. Like, wake up, hello.
Yeah, like that's another thing I want explained is kind of what is Bran doing during this whole
Dude,
time?
I didn't think about this. What if he is warging Arya, and that's how he's able to get her past everything?
I would love to get that information.
That would be crazy. What if I just uncovered what happened? Just came into my brain.
Well, I don't know. But so he's like out of it and everyone's dying protecting him, and then Theon's the last one left, and that's when the White Walkers and the Night King come around the corner. And Bran at this point wakes up, looks at Theon, and kind of confirms that he's about to die. He's like, "You're a good man, Theon."
You're dead, bro.
Yeah, he does. He says exactly that. He's like, "You're dead, bro." No, he's like, "Theon, you're a good man," and
He just takes off.
yeah, he at
Suicide
that point,
by dogma.
yeah, at that point, Theon is just like, "Yeah, I'm dead. Like, there's nothing I can do," and he just charges in. I don't know if I like that. I feel like he should have tried to stand his ground, maybe, and try to actually like try to. He knew he was gonna die, but at least go down. Trying to fight.
I was gonna say like whip his willy out and start like dancing, but I was like, he doesn't have one anymore.
Oh my god,
He lost that when he was weak or Reek.
Reek,
Yeah, he kind of lost that appendage. So,
and then man, the last 15 minutes was all like slow mo of the walk the Night King was doing, and the music.
That kind of like bummed me out too. I was like, you just wasted 5 minutes of this dude walking. Like, come on.
I thought it built up the tension really well.
It built it up to kind of suck, honestly, though.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I like the whole scene. I love the music right in that moment. Like that Night King theme that was playing during that whole time was really epic for me. And it was putting me on the edge of my seat. I'm like, something's going on here, and something's about to happen, but I don't know what. Like things were going through my head, like someone's gonna kill him, John's gonna come out of nowhere, Dragon's gonna come out of nowhere, like he's gonna freaking behead Bran right here. All those things were going through my head. And then at the very last moment, Arya comes out of nowhere and jumps on him.
So this is just something I put together in my head while we've been talking about this, but obviously Bran has foreseen the future. He knows what's going to happen.
Right.
He knows all of this is going to, culminate. This is how it ends. He's seen it. He was warging something, which it showed crows or ravens for, when he initially went into it. But he didn't stop warging something until right when the Night King walked up and what's his face died. If he knew where they were all going to be, he could have warged Arya to be where she needed to be so that she could get past them and do whatever she needed to do.
Yeah. On that thought, another theory that I can think of is she warged Arya, put on a different face as a dead guy or a White Walker,
Mm-hmm.
walked up next to the other generals, and she was one of the one walking up with them.
Right. I can see that.
I just hope that gets revealed. Like, it shows a little flashback of her doing that to explain that scene.
Or they explain how it happened. Somebody needs to, in the very beginning of the next episode, they need to be like, Arya, you're the baddie. Thanks for saving us. And then they need to be like, how did you do it? Hello?
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, I hope it's not like that, because that was just terrible writing right there, man.
We're winging it, Jerry.
But no, that whole scene, I thought it was really, I thought it was cool how she killed him, just because she used that
fake out, dude.
That Brienne, the thing that Brienne did with the Hound, I believe, is where she learned that.
Is that so?
I think so. That's what I read. It might have been from Serial Fro, but someone showed her that move where when your hand is taken like that with where your sword is or your dagger, you drop it to catch it with your other hand, and that's exactly what she fucking did. She did the fucking
faked him out.
Did the 1-2, stabbed him right where, right where the the children of where the children of the forest stabbed him. And apparently, that's the only place you could have stabbed him to kill him.
How did she know that though?
Exactly. This is why that theory makes even more sense now, Nathan. Because you might be onto something here. Is apparently how warging works is when you warg something, a piece of it becomes a part of you, and you become a part of it.
So Bran became part of him, became in her, and she would know that at that point.
Yeah, exactly. She would get that knowledge.
Dude, I figured it out. Call me Sherlock Holmes, dude.
Okay. But yeah, so she kills the Night King, and then it kind of, everyone
dies,
falling. All the dead guys start, going back to dead, I guess. But yeah, and so it just kind of ends, and then the whole episode ends with Melisandre taking off her necklace and walking into the
committing
snow.
Suicide. I was like, all right, cool. Obviously, you could have kept living.
I think she realized she served her purpose, but at the same time, why do that?
If you served your purpose and you made it. Well, I mean, she was 6 million years old. She looked like an old bag. She was probably ready to die,
I mean, yeah, she died almost immediately after that, just because of her age.
The only thing keeping her alive was that necklace.
Right.
It had her life fire or whatever in it. And I think she was just ready to go on. She's probably I've been trying to wait for this mother effer for 600 years. It's over with. I'm going to go die now. That's probably all it was.
Now with the two, with the Red Priestess and Barrack gone, those were the last two people that knew any kind of red magic. So at this point, don't expect any resurrections of anyone that dies.
Yeah, probably not.
At least in the show. So, but yeah, it was an amazing episode.
It's pretty good. I thought both dragons died for sure.
Well, I did too, but then in the next week's promo, they were both flying. So
I was like, all right, cool.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next three. They're all going to be 1 hour and 20. So
I'm excited.
Excited to see what happens.
Hopefully they don't let me down with the ending.
Oh, and what do we say to the god of death, Nathan?
Always today.
Oh my god. Hey guys, thanks for listening. We're signing off. I'm Asen, and I'm always right.
I'm Nathan.
See you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, we would love to hear your feedback, which can be sent to coldonepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us gauge how we can make this podcast better for your enjoyment. If you would like to contact us, you can do that through our email or follow us on social media, which is @coldonepodcast for Twitter and Facebook. We are now on Spotify as well as most podcast apps in existence, but if you prefer to listen to it online, head on over to our website, actionsperminute.net, for the latest episodes, a link to the APM Network Discord, or to check out any of our APM sponsored streamers. And lastly, if you like what we do, tell your friends and spread the good word. Thank you again, and remember,